So do you know what? I actually really enjoyed Argylle. I mean, if you know what you're getting yourself in for in terms of it being a bit of a satire parody take on the spy comedy genre, which itself does not take itself seriously at all, then I do think you're going to have a good time with this one. And I mean, I understand all of the criticism that everybody is making with this movie in terms of it being really ridiculous, in terms of the plot being a bit of a fake out from what it was positioning itself as in all of the marketing material, in terms of it being a really fun spy comedy movie with Henry Cavill and Dua Lipa at the forefront, and then of course it taking a completely different turn with the end product and some absolutely far-fetched sequences and overusing CGI and the green screen to the point where it just makes itself a little bit beyond a parody and a little bit ridiculous. So like I said, I get all of those issues, but I am so here for spy movies which just have loads of twists and turns, and this movie pretty much had a new twist every half an hour, and I literally was here for it. And the movie feels very Matthew Vaughn in terms of all of the Kingsman inspiration, but I feel like actually he can do really serious movies. For example, the outstanding X-Men First Class and the even better X-Men Days of Future Past. Clearly, with this movie, he just wanted to throw all of the rule books out of the window and just have a laugh. And like I said, for me, I thought it was pretty decent. And as disappointing as it is for Henry Cavill superfans to discover that actually he is not in this movie that much at all. I mean, that being said, he is peppered across this film, but of course he's not the lead that everyone thinks he was going to be. And even though it does take a whole act to get used to the fact that actually Bryce Dallas Howard and Sam Rockwell are at the forefront of this movie, I think, like I said, after the first act, you are kind of there for it, and you are kind of here for the ride that you're then taken on. And like I said, I love twisty movies, and this movie had twist after twist after twist. And Matthew Vaughn himself did say one of the reasons why he selected Henry Cavill is that he wanted a Bond-esque person leading from the forefront, and if all of the rumours are to be believed, then Henry Cavill may well become the next Bond. So I guess Matthew Vaughn was ahead of the curve and got him to play a bit of a Bond-esque role. And I loved all of the little cameo appearances that were peppered in also across this movie, and I thought Bryan Cranston and Catherine O'Hara played the parental characters so well, and you can just tell that both of them had a lot of secrets behind the scenes. And then, you know, all of the family-based sequences that then transpire were actually really clever, I thought. Like I said, I know a lot of people are saying, you know, there's plot holes all over the place, this movie doesn't really make sense. And sure, if you are going to pick holes at everything with this movie, then of course you're not going to enjoy it that much. But like I said, if you're just here for the ride, I think it is pretty decent. And I think conceptually, it is pretty clever in terms of, you know, everything that this author is writing is kind of coming to life, and so understandably both good people and evil people will want to get their hands on this to finally discover the treasure at the end of the rainbow. And naturally the audience and the main character doesn't really know who they can and cannot trust. And I think there's so many layers on top of that in terms of what is real, who is the real Argylle, who is writing what is the truth, are the audience watching a film, is the film being filmed itself, is it based on a book? All of these questions are just so funny. And then of course the post-credit scene of this movie is then suggesting that this film is actually part of the wider Kingsman universe, and they are trying to make a trilogy of Argylle movies. So of course this one is actually going to be in the middle, as the next plan is to do a prequel which will explore how on earth Argylle became Argylle, and then I believe the third installment will then properly continue this movie based on all of the little breadcrumbs that they left at the end of this film. And then Matthew Vaughn is actually planning to turn Argylle and his Kingsman movies into a massive cinematic universe, with another installment being interconnected as well, which apparently is going to be called Project X. So I feel like it's absolutely hilarious when it comes to Matthew Vaughn's cinematic plans, as if he does get all of that signed off, it could be really interesting. I think Sam Rockwell was really, really good. I feel like he had a bit of a hard job on his hands in terms of actually being the replacement that nobody expected him to be with Henry Cavill, but I feel like he leans into it in such a good way, and his voice is so synonymous in terms of voice acting some pretty brilliant roles. So I've always been a really big fan of his, and of course he was also in the first few Iron Man movies, so I'm really excited to finally, hopefully, see him have his time to shine. And I think Bryce Dallas Howard very similarly was playing Ellie Conway in a really good way, and Ellie Conway as a character, firstly you don't know, is she really in this universe? who is this author? Is the author based on somebody in real life? And all of the secrets that she is harboring, everything that transpired by the end of this movie, I feel like Bryce Dallas Howard very similarly leans into it. Certain things right at the end aren't really that believable, but I guess, the whole plot to some extent is a little bit over far-fetched. And as convoluted and over the top and far-fetched as this movie is, somehow it does kind of all work together. And I personally, like I keep saying, loved all of the twists and turns that constantly happen, but I probably am quite alone in this, as this movie has underperformed, both in terms of a commercial box office perspective, but also from a critical response perspective as well, as it's so low on Rotten Tomatoes. So who knows if Matthew Vaughn's plans of turning this into a trilogy and then wider cinematic universe are ever going to transpire, as this movie needed to make at least 500 million worldwide. So let's see what's going to happen in terms of its future success and Matthew Vaughn's master plans. But as far as this movie is concerned, like I said, I enjoyed it. I get all of the criticism, but I had fun with it. And so for all of those reasons, I'm going to give it a solid 6 out of 10. Now I'd love to hear from you. What did you think of Argylle? Let me know all of the good things that you thought about this movie, along with all of the awful things as well. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.